Hi everyone. In this video we will be talking about the rise of Islam. This video is an extension of the Byzantine Empire for lesson 1. So they go hand in hand. This is part 2 in other words. So in this lesson we are going to be describing the interactions between Muslim, Christian and Jewish societies. We will describe the historical origins, central ideas and spread of Islam, and we are also going to explain how Islam influences laws and government in the Muslim world. By the time that you have finished this lesson, you will be able to summarize the rise and major beliefs of Islam. Okay, so first we'll talk about trade in the Middle East and how that led to the rise of a new religion. So the sea routes around the Arabian Peninsula connected it to India and the Red Sea. And so there was a great deal of trade going back and forth thanks to the domestication of the camel. So because the camel could traverse through the desert without a lot of water, people began to travel in caravans to trade in further areas. And so cities and towns began to develop near those trade routes as a result of the increased trade. And Mecca is one of these cities that prospers due to trade. It's the most important city on the Arabian Peninsula, and it is the place where Islam is born. And so here's a map of the Arabian Peninsula. Again, I mentioned they have access to India through the ocean, but eventually they domesticate the camel and they can travel through the desert and trade in other further areas. Okay, and Mecca would be located here. As you can see, it's close to the sea here that allows him to be a good port for trade, and it's kind of like a middle point in the desert as well. Okay, so let's talk about Muhammad. He is the prophet of Islam. Muhammad is also known as the father of Islam or the founder of Islam. He was a merchant himself and a shepherd in Mecca, and he used to go off into the nearby caves and meditate and ponder why the world had become so materialistic and so selfish during his time. And when he was off meditating, he received a message from an angel named Gabriel, which is an angel that is also can also be found in the Christian Bible. And according to the Muslim history, the angel is asking Muhammad to convert all of the Arab tribes into monotheistic tribes. And so they become monotheistic. They give up all the other idols and gods that they worshipped and only worshipped one God, which they call Allah. And this is the very same God that is worshipped by Jews and Christians. This is just called by a different name. So now Muhammad is going to end up moving to a nearby city named Medina. He did gain many followers, and because of his popularity and the jealousy of other merchants, his life was in danger, and so he fled to Medina, which is the neighboring city, and we call that the Hijra. In Medina, Muhammad is going to raise an army so that he can come back and take Mecca through a holy war or a jihad. By the time that he died, most tribes had converted to Islam, and he did succeed in reconquering Mecca. And so most of the Arabian Peninsula had become Muslim by the time of Muhammad's death. The sacred text of Islam is called the Quran. Sometimes it's spelled with a Q, sometimes it's spelled with a K. It's the same thing. Muslim believes that it records the words that were revealed to Muhammad by God through the angels. And it contains a lot of references to both Jews and Christians because they do share a lot of similarities. And it discusses the forms in which people should behave, how they should worship, how they should conduct themselves, and other matters. There are 5 pillars in Islam. These are 5 rules that all Muslims must follow. And the more strict followers of Islam adhere to these more regularly. Number 1 is called faith. So Muslims must believe and confess that there's only one God and that Muhammad is the messenger of God. The second thing that all Muslims must do is pray. Muslims offer prayers towards the city of Mecca, so they usually face in the direction of Mecca 5 times a day, and those include dawn, noon, mid-afternoon, and sunset and evening. Number 3 is fasting. So similar to the tradition of Lent in the Christian faith, the Muslims also practice a time period of fasting. This is a time period during the month of Ramadan where all Muslims who are healthy enough to do so are encouraged to abstain from food, drink, and sexual relations between sundown and sunset. And they do this for a month long, and at the end they have a big festival to celebrate the end of Ramadan. The fourth pillar of Islam is called almsgiving. So it's a gesture of social responsibility, and all Muslims who are able to do so have to donate a portion of their income to help the community or the poor. And the last one is called the Hajj, and all that means is a pilgrimage. All Muslims who are able to do so, they're healthy enough and wealthy enough to do so, should make a trip to Mecca, a pilgrimage to the city of Mecca to participate in ceremonies there as part of their commitment to their faith. And they should do this at least once in their life. Okay, so Islam did become very popular in the Arabian Peninsula, and then it eventually spread to other parts of the world. And this happened because the Arab tribes set out on a jihad, again, a holy war against non-believers, and they conquered different parts of the world and spread their faith. They did succeed in creating a very huge empire that extended from the Indus Valley all the way into parts of Europe as far west as Spain. They were stopped in Europe at the Battle of Tours, where they fought in France, and the French were able to stop this Muslim expansion. So the farthest they got into Europe was Spain. And this is a map of the Islamic Empire around 750 BC. And as you can see, this is up to where they get in Europe. They do not get to advance further inland, but they do conquer, again, all of the Arabian Peninsula where it originated. It expanded greatly into the east and into parts of North Africa where it's still very popular. So these new empires have a ruler called a caliph. The caliph is a successor to Muhammad, and the 2 early caliphs were actually murdered. So after Muhammad's death, there was some dispute over who should be the new leader. And there's 2 groups of people who are fighting over the replacement of Muhammad. You have the Sunnis, who make up most of Muslims today, and they established their capital in Damascus through the Umayyad Caliphate in Syria. And you also have the Shiite Muslims, and they're a minority group of Muslims who still are important in the Middle East today. They believe that only the descendants of Muhammad can be caliphs, not just anyone who assumes power. They established the Abbasid Caliphate, and they overthrow the Umayyad and established their capital in Baghdad, which is in modern-day Iraq. So the Muslim rulers, these caliphs, are going to convert or enslave people that they conquer. They do treat Jews and Christians with respect because they believe that they worship the same God, and so they allow them to govern themselves. However, they do have to pay a special tax because they are not Muslim, but they're not forced to convert. They were also excluded from participating in some government offices, but for the most part, they are treated with a lot of respect. During these caliphates, the Muslim culture experiences a golden age, and during a golden age, there's a lot of advances in math and science and medicine and so forth. So the Arabs do make a lot of advances in mathematics, including the development of Arabic numerals that we use today. The 1, 2, and 3 are considered Arabic numerals. They're also going to make a lot of advances in algebra and geometry. Through medicine, they discover that blood moves to and from the heart, and they also diagnose a lot of diseases, including measles and smallpox. As far as architecture, some of the most beautiful architecture in the world comes from the Muslim world. They have beautiful palaces and temples and mosques, like the ones that you see here. And also, because Muhammad forbade that anyone draw or paint the image of God or people, their art is very abstract, and it has geometric designs, flowers and stars. They don't necessarily produce images of any people. Alright, and that brings us to the end of the lecture. If you guys have any questions, make sure you let me know, and thank you for watching.